Hey everybody, it's Tony here, and today it's January 2019, and in just about 6 weeks we've got the 2019 Rogue Festival coming up, and I will be performing my show Confessions of a Church Organist. So today we're going to take a look at some of my preparations for that show. So Eileen and I have been involved in the Rogue Festival since 2002. It started out as just providing venue space. We had a gallery down on Fulton Street, right in the center of the Tower District. And so we first provided space for visual artists to be part of the festival, and that grew into also being a performance space along with that. It was about 2006 that I saw a show that was actually called It's Okay to Like Porn. And what it was is a gentleman who had worked in an adult bookstore selling videos and other stuff. And he just told all of his little misadventures of working in that facility. And it kind of inspired me because at that point I had just given up a full-time career as a church musician, and I had started out when I was just 16 years old. As a teenager, I was a drinker and a partier and made a lot of bad choices, and so I ended up having a lot of unusual misadventures during my job as a church musician. And it occurred to me that a show talking about all of that stuff would be really interesting. So in 2007, I put together the first incarnation of the show Confessions of a Church Organist. I had zero experience as a writer or a performer of this kind. And I remember that first moment when I was about to walk out on stage and thinking, I'm going to go out and do something I've never done before. I'm going to try to make these people laugh. And it was really a nerve-wracking experience, but I stepped out there, I told the first funny story, people laughed hysterically, and I realized, hey, I can probably do this. So I did several other shows over the years. I did a rewrite of Confessions in 2012, and along the way I also did a lot of studying about how to write such shows, researching how other people put such things together, talking with other performers, and I think I've really come into my own at this point, and I'm able to really put together a first-class show. This version of the show is a complete rewrite. I've kept all of the stories. The basic structure of the show is still the same, but it's just more finely tuned based on my now more than a decade of experience doing this. Okay, so let's take a look at what goes into the show. From the very first time I went out on stage, I realized that my unique position was the fact that I'm an organist, a church organist. How many church organists go out and do one-man shows? Well, I wanted to play music with the show, but this proved to have a logistical problem. Initially, I used just a small synthesizer keyboard to give just little snippets of things to kind of color the show. And I also used music tracks that I either recorded or dubbed from recordings that I have of organ music that was appropriate to the story I happened to be telling. So the whole thing was kind of accompanied like maybe a silent movie. And the thing that kept happening as I did Confessions and the other shows that I put together, the thing that kept coming up in the reviews was that, you know, Tony's talking about being an organist, we want to hear him play. So down the road I started looking for a venue within the Rogue Festival where I could take a big piece of equipment, and that proved to be the Severance School on Wishon Ave. And we were able to host the show with a full-size organ. So this year I will be using this instrument. This is my Rogers 725B, and there are many videos on my YouTube channel where you can see work I've done on this instrument. And there's going to be more because there's more work to do before we come up on the show. The background music tracks that I originally used just a CD player with a remote control, and then I could change to the next track as I went along. When we got to Severance, what I ended up doing was using a tablet, and I would put the music tracks as a file, and each one would be lined up, and then they could just follow the script and cue the track as we go and make sure the volume was right. And that has proven to work very, very well. And that way we have the background music track. I can even put sound effects on here. With this instrument and incorporating music fully into the show will start with me playing a short piece. And then as we go through, I talk about silent movies and how those were accompanied, and I can demonstrate some of those sound effects that were created on organs back in the day. I also talk about playing at hockey games and playing at a restaurant called Pizza and Pipes, and I can show some of the kind of music that I ended up having to do there. And the show ends with a big spectacular piece of music on the organ. Now, putting this show together, this is the script so far, and it's in its roughed out state. So here's the original script from the first production back in 2007, and I've gone through it, made a lot of notes. I ended up just completely recrafting that part, and I've just got everything kind of sketched out in a notepad on pages of the original script. The next step, once I have it all written out like this, is that I just simply memorize it, and then I do it verbally and make adjustments so that it becomes very natural to say the thing. Once I have that all worked out verbally, then I sit down at the computer and type out what I have worked out verbally, insert where the music tracks are supposed to go, where I'm going to be playing live music, and all of those types of details to get into the show. So if we scan across my workspace here where I create the show, we have in the corner the big organ, and then if we come out here, you can see that there is a little bit of floor space that I can work around on, not much, but I can stand here and work out the show. I can have the camera running and flip the view screen around so I can kind of see myself, and then I can review my work. Also in the space, of course, there's my synthesizer keyboard where I also teach piano lessons. And then over here I have, just on a bench, there's the script and the tablet for review and making notes and seeing how the show works. So I really like to work out the show kind of as I would do it. Just get up there, talk as if I'm talking to an audience, and just see how it feels to get all of the bits of the show worked out. And that way it's natural, it's funny, and everybody has a good time. The next big thing that I'm going to be doing here is workshop space with some of my fellow performer friends that I regularly correspond with and work with. We try to help each other out, and that will be the next thing that happens. We'll bring an audience in here and pack everybody in somehow, and I'll do the show as if I'm doing it at the festival. So next time I'll show you some actual rehearsal footage of me working on the show, possibly while I'm doing one of my workshop performances. Now, the Rogue Festival is coming up first 2 weeks of March, so just in a short while. My shows will be at the California Arts Academy, and that's at 1401 North Wishon, right across from St. Therese Church. The shows are March 2nd at 6:30, March 3rd at 3:30, March 7th at 8:30, and March 9th at 3:30. And I'll put all of that information down in the description of this video. So thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.